JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 77. Simon King walks in the snow to visit Iu. And sister-in-law Bai brings water to fight with her lover. It is said that when Shu Kai asked to see Simon King but was not able to do so, he knew that he was ashamed. So he moved to his old home. Simon King tidied up the academy and became a guest. So it was no big deal. One day, Shang Ju came to pay his respects and went to Beijing for an examination. He asked Simon King to borrow his suitcase and felt shirt. Simon King was sitting with him waiting for tea, because he talked about Qiao Dahu and Yun Lishu. The two abandoned their relatives. One was accepted as a righteous official, and the other was appointed as an ancestral official. When they were appointed as stewards, I would like to congratulate them with 2 scrolls. I wonder if I know each other? Old man, I would like to express my gratitude to you and ask for it with courtesy. Shang Juren said with a smile. Why do you use etiquette? Old man, my classmate Nai Liang who, my student, saw that he was studying in the arsenal. And he was a teacher of a child. And he was very talented in miscellaneous work. The student told him that the old man just sent the envoy to hold the axis. Simon King quickly thanked him. After tea, he stood up. Simon King immediately sealed 2 handkerchiefs and 5 coins of platinum, and sent the piano boy to deliver the axe, felt shirt, and suitcase to the Shang Juren. After 2 days of absence, he wrote a scroll and sent it to someone. Simon King hung it on the wall, but when he saw the gold characters shining brightly without adding any text, he felt very happy. I saw Earl Ying coming to ask, when will the matter between Qiao Dahu and second brother Yen be held? Have you done the scroll? Why has Mr. Wen not been seen for so many days? Simon King said. What is the question about Mr. Wen? It's clear, he's a dog. Tell it like this again. The Earl said, brother, I said this person exaggerated and was very vain. You had to have a second thought earlier, otherwise, you would have taught him to ruin our children. He asked him again, who wrote the congratulatory message to the second Duke? Simon King said, yesterday Shang Xiaotong came to pay me a visit. He said that his friend Nai Liang who was good at eloquence and begged Nai Liang who to write it. The article has been written, look. So he led the count to the hall to watch, cheering, and said, all the favors are gone. Brother, you should give them to me early, so that I can be prepared. Simon King said, tomorrow is a good date. I will send someone to deliver it early. Just as he was talking, he suddenly reported, Dad Jia came to say goodbye and said he would get up and leave on the 6th day of the lunar month. Xiao Hai's father is not at home. He preached and told Dad he to send someone to guard him. Mrs. Simon saw the post saying Jia Cheng, the late son of the Yin family, bowed his head and thanked her. Simon King said, Lian Chengju's people are staying at his house for 2 minutes of Chengyi's fragrant silk. Fukin Tong said, I bought it quickly and asked your brother-in-law to seal it and write a note and send it to me. The Count was staying in the study to eat when he suddenly saw Ping Anna hurriedly bringing in 3 notes to report Consultant Wang, Bing Bei Lei, and Lang Zhonggan are here to pay their respects. Simon King read the post. Wang Boyan, Lei Qiyuan, and Chen Bai quickly dress and tie. The Earl said, brother, if you have something to do, I'll go over there. Simon King said, I will meet you tomorrow. While getting dressed, he went out to greet him. The 3 officials all gave in to each other, entering the hall, reciting the etiquette and telling the son about things that bother you. After a while of tea, while we were chatting, Dr. An said casually, Lei Dongwu, Wang Xiaohua, and their students have come to Gandu again. Zhao Dayan from the Zhejiang province has been newly promoted to the principal of Dali Temple. 3 of his students have come to invite me. It's the 9th day of the Lunar New Year in Cambodia. There are 5 tables in the host's house. Call the actors and students. I don't know if you will agree, Simon King said. The old man will pay for it, and the students will sweep the door and wait. And Lang Zhong ordered the officials to collect the money and hand it over in 2s and 3s. Simon Kingling collected it and sent him out. Lei Dongwu said to Simon King, the letter from Jin Yunye came the day before yesterday, saying that Sun Wenxiang is a valuable associate. The student has kicked him out. Didn't he come to tell me? Simon King said. That's right, Mr. Duacheng. If you take the trouble, please bow down, Lei Bingbai said. When you and I love each other, What is the majority? After saying this, they bowed to each other and got into the sedan chair and laughed. It turns out that since Pan Jinlian took charge of the family's money, he made a new order. Every day the boy bought vegetables and looked at them before counting the money with him. He didn't count. He only taught JinPingMei how to count money and mention coins. The boy was scolded so badly by Chen Hong that he just gave up and taught Simon King how to beat him. So all the boys complained to each other, saying that it was better to use money in Sanny Yang's hands. But the next day, Simon King Yamen dispersed, and he said to He Qianhu, Jia Longshi's family has already left. Has the chief appointed someone to guard the door? He Qianhu said, exactly. Yesterday, according to people over there, the students have already left for a small price. Simon King said, let's go and have a look with the chief today. So he left the Yamen and rode to the Jia family's house. The family is gone, and the companions should be waiting at the door. The two officials dismounted and entered the hall. Simon King led He Qianhu to look back and forth. Then he went to the flower pavilion in front and saw an open space with few flowers and plants. Simon King said, Sir, tomorrow I will clean up the play area, plant some flowers and willows, and repair the pavilion. He Qianhu said, This has been decided. The students will renovate in the spring, build 3 rolling sheds, and invite the superiors to come and relax in the morning and evening. After watching it for a while, I asked my family to clean up and close the door. I will write a letter and go to Tokyo to visit my husband soon, and move in with my family in the new year. Simon King said goodbye and went home. He Qianhu returned to the Yamen. I didn't move my luggage until the next day, which is not a word. When Simon King got home and got off his horse, he saw He Ju buying a ruler for kinds of food and a jar of wine to thank him. Then Liu Nixiang sent someone to deliver a box of candles, 20 tables, 80 strands of official incense, a box of incense, a jar of homemade wine, and a mouthful of fresh pig. When Simon King came in, Liu Gonggong's family kowtowed and said, My father-in-law, please put on your shoes. These small gifts are with my father's appreciation. Simon King said, I missed my husband the day before yesterday, so how come I am sending you such a generous gift? He ordered the people around him. It's about to be collected. Please wait for the housekeeper. After a while, the painting boy brought out a cup of tea and drank it. Simon King sealed the reward with 5 coins of silver, took the post back and sent it away. On the other hand, He Ju was asked to come in. When Simon King saw He Ju, he pulled his hand up to the hole. He Ju hurriedly knelt down and said, I owe you so much to my father's heavenly heart. I am a little brother who was born as a villain. I am very grateful. Simon King was invited to receive the ceremony, but Simon King refused to accept the kowtow. He pulled him up and said, Lao Ju, you and I, please stop doing this. Just let him sit. He Ju said, How dare a humble man sit on his arrogance? Just say stand by. Simon King also stood, had a cup of tea with him, and said, Old Ju, why do you bother to send gifts? I will not accept it. If anyone bullies you, just come and tell me. I will vent your anger for you. If the county government I've sent you on a very important errand, and I'll tell you, fatherly, about it. He Judao, I owe you the grace of my father, and I know it. I am old now, and I have told the villain he can to take his place. Simon King said, It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's better for you to have some leisure time. Then he said, Since you refuse, I will accept the wine gift. If you still take the ruler, I won't let you sit down. Then He Jukian thanked him deeply and resigned. Simon King was sitting in the hall, looking at the gift boxes, red sheep wine, scrolls, and everyone sharing their money. First he sent Dai into Qiao Da's house, and then Wang Jing was sent to Yun Li Shu's house. When Daiyan came back, the Qiao family gave him 5 coins. Wang Jing went to Yun Li's home, took care of tea and food, and gave him a big piece of true blue cloth and a pair of piano shoes. He returned to the house with 2 messages. Please tell me more. Dad, I'll treat you to another day. Simon King was full of joy and went to Yun Young's room behind to set up a meal, because he said to Yun Young, Beyonce has gone, and Uncle Wu is selling goods on Lion Street. I have no time today to go there and have a look. Yun Young said, Why don't you go? If you want some food and drinks, I'll send the servant to my house. Simon King said, I know. As they prepared their horses, they wore a felt jongjing scarf, a sable ear warmer, a green velvet patchwork cloak, and foundation soap boots. Kin Tong and Diane followed, and walked straight to Lion Street. When they arrived at the house, Uncle Wu and Lai Zhao were hanging flower baskets and buying silk, wool, and silk floss. They crowded the shop with people doing business and couldn't keep busy. Simon King dismounted, took a look, walked to the back and sat down in the greenhouse. Uncle Wu came over and bowed, saying, I saved 20 or 30 taels of silver in one day. Simon King also paid Zhao's wife one janking. Second uncle will miss his daily tea and meal break. Lei Zhao's wife said, I serve food and wine every day, and I don't dare to make any mistakes. Simon King saw that the sky was gloomy, with dense clouds, and the air conditioning was invading, making it look like snow. Suddenly he remembered that he was going to Zheng Yuer's house, so he ordered Kin Tong, get my fur coat from my home on horseback and ask your aunt if she has a box of wine and food to share with your second uncle, the piano boy promised. When I got home, after a while, I got a mink fur coat and a box of wine and food. Simon King had 3 drinks with his second uncle in the room and said, Second uncle, you can stay here tonight and use it later. Just go to my house. So he put on his gauze, rode on horseback, followed by Diane and Kin Tong, walked straight into the fence, and went to Zheng Yuer's house. Turning around the East Street intersection, I saw a flurry of auspicious snow falling in the sky. But see, the desert is so cold, and the snow is falling just right. Pull out the cotton and cut it into pieces, as big as a tortoise. Seeing bamboo shoots and cucumbers in the forest, some of them were overwhelmed by him. The rich man said, there are still too few obstacles to eliminate disasters. Surrounding the red furnace beast charcoal, wearing mink fur embroidered jacket, holding plum blossoms in hand, she sang that it was auspiciousness for the country and that she did not care about the poor. There is a secluded person lying high, chanting many poems and grasses. Simon King stepped on the scattered jade, entered the fence, and dismounted in front of Zheng Yuer's house. I saw the maid flying in and saying, Dad is here. Zheng's mother saw it and came out. As for the ceremony in the middle hall, she said, Thank you very much for the gift from my father the day before yesterday. My sister and I were disturbing the house again and taught his aunt and third mother to reward him with flowery green sweat towels. Simon King said, He came empty that day. Sit down. Simon King ordered Dan, bring the horse in and place it in the courtyard behind. Mom said, Please sit behind me in the open room. Sister, you just got up to comb her hair. She just said that Dad came yesterday and waited on him all day. Today he felt a little unhappy and got up later. As Simon King entered the bright room behind him, he saw that the green curtain was half opened, the felt curtain was lowered, and a large brass basin was burning charcoal fire on the ground. Simon King sat on the front chair. First, Zheng Xianger came out to meet them and handed them tea. Then Yuer came out, with a nest of silk Hangzhou silk on her head, a button of green plum blossoms, a gold hairpin comb, and a sea otter lying on a rabbit. The misty-dressed servant girl has pink makeup and beautiful jade. He smiled and wished Simon King a blessing, and said, Dad, I came late that day. I left late from the front, and when I got to the back, the aunt just didn't let me go and stayed to eat. It was the 3rd day of the night when I came home. Simon King smiled and said, Little oily mouth, you and Sister Li Gui can beat Ying Huazi very well. Zheng Yuer said, Who taught him to blame now for hurting me every time he came at the banquet. That day Zhu Mazi was also drunk, coaxing me, and wanted to send me every time. I said, Dad, don't give me lanterns here. Every day, Fatty Zhang hangs in the gutter. It makes you smell bad. Simon King said, I heard Hong Sire say yesterday that Zhu Mazi met Wang Sangwaner again and invited Rong Zhaoer on the street. Zheng Yuer said, I just rested one night at Rong Zhaoer's house and burned a stick of incense, but I didn't go. Now I'm still walking with Qin Yujie. After saying something, he said, Dad, I'm afraid you'll be cold, so please sit in the room. Simon King arrived in the room, took off his mink fur, and sat with vent around the stove. The aroma in the room was overwhelming. After a while, the girl brought 3 bags of meat buns with yellow buds and chives and an inch-large water horn. The 2 sisters accompanied Simon King and each ate a bowl. Ayura raised half of the pot again and added it to Simon King. Simon King said, "I did it, and I just came here after eating 2 snacks. I wanted to come to your place for a walk, but I didn't want it to snow again." Ayura said, "Daddy, won't you give birth to me the day before yesterday? I waited all day yesterday without seeing Daddy, and I didn't want him to come today." Simon King said, "Yesterday, 2 scholars came to visit me at home, but they never came because of the chaos." Ayura said, "I want to ask Dad if there is a marten and buy one for me. I will make a scarf to wear." Simon King said, "It doesn't matter. Yesterday, a Korean man came from Liaodong and gave me some good ferrets. You ladies don't even have scarves. Tomorrow, I will make them. I will give you 2 to each family." So Xiang and Ayur quickly stood up and said long blessings. Simon King said, "Don't meet Sister Gui and Sister Yin." Zheng Yuer said, "I know." Because he said, "The day before yesterday, Sister Li Gui saw Wu Yin'er spending the night there and asked me when he came. I didn't hide it from him. He told me, I invited Mr. Zhou yesterday, and I sang here for 4 days. Dad said there was Wang San. Guaner is here, so I can't invite you. Today I invited you to sing because I was having a drink with my relatives and friends." He didn't say a word. Simon King said, "It's good for you to answer him this time. Li Ming, I didn't want him to sing the day before yesterday. I asked you again and again to speak to your second father. It's your 3rd mother's birthday, and Sister Gui bought a gift. You don't want to accompany me. You bitch said that, but I ignored him. Yesterday, I actually stayed with Sister Yin to let him know." Ayura said, "I don't know Sanying's birthday. I made a mistake in favor." Simon King said, "Tomorrow, Father Yin will serve wine, and you and Sister Yin will sing for a day." Ayura said, "Dad will pay for it. I'll go." After saying something in reply, Venda took out 32 ivory cards and played with Simon King by wiping the cards on the Kang felt strips. Xianger also sat next to her and wiped it with her. The 3 of them wiped the cards, and after a while, they put the wine on the table. Aixiang and Ayura held the wine one at a time, and the 2 sisters played and sang. After singing a set, the 2 sisters brought the dice bowl and started joking with Simon King to compete for the spotlight. Cups and cups come and go, each adding to the beauty of spring. Simon King suddenly saw that in Zheng Ayura's room, on the brocade screen beside the bed, there was a scroll called Picture of the Beauty in Love with the Moon with a poem. There is a beauty who stands out from the group, and the breeze blows her pomegranate skirt. The flowers bloom in the spring of March, and the moon turns and the flowers are overcast at night. Yeksu's spirit is linked to Zhongyin's, while Qiangling's talent and beauty surpass Wenjin's. The young man's feelings should be admired, and don't let Bai Yun carelessly entrust him. Simon King looked at it and asked, "Is the master of Sanguine called Wang Sangwaner?" Zheng Ayur, who was panicked, quickly said, "This is what he wrote in the old days. His name is no longer Sanguine, but Xiao Xuan." He told people that his father said, "My name is Siquin." Why did he name it Sanguine? He was afraid that his father would be angry, so he changed his name to Xiao Xuan. As he walked forward, he took a pen and daubed out the word 3. Simon King was filled with joy and said, "I didn't know he changed his name." Fanta said, "I heard him tell someone, and I just found out. He said that his deceased father's name was Yixuan, so he changed his name to Xiao Xuan." After saying that, Zheng Xianger went downstairs, leaving Ayur alone in the room with Simon King. The 2 of them stacked up side by side, grabbing wine and drinking. Because they talked about Mrs. Lin so much, so romantic. I was having a drink at his house, and that day Wang Sangwan invited me to see me in the back. It was his idea to teach Sangwan acknowledge me as your adoptive father, teach me to accept his rights, and entrust me to teach him to become an adult. The fan clapped his hands and laughed and said, "Thanks to me for showing you the way to go with Dad. Tomorrow, even Sangwaner and his wife won't be afraid that she will no longer belong to Dad." Simon King said, "I will burn a stick of incense with him tomorrow. In the first month of the first month, I will invite him and Sangwon's wife to my house to watch the lights and have wine. See if he goes, Fanta said. Dad, you still don't know how beautiful Sangwon's wife is. She is not as charming as a lantern person. She is 19 years old this year and is a widow at home. Wang Sangwaner has no access to the family. Dad, if you are willing to put in some effort, you won't have to worry about someone who is not yours. The two were talking to each other. The maid then brought many small fruit plates, and Fanta personally served them to Simon King to drink with. Then she put the phoenix-flavored honey cake into his mouth with her tongue, and used her delicate hands to untie Simon King's trousers, revealing the words and teaching him how to do it. Those words were ferocious and mind-boggling. Ziking was brilliant. Simon King ordered him to appreciate it. This pink head is really hanging down. I opened my red lips lightly, half swallowing and half spitting, go in and out, making a slurping sound, and tasted it for a while. The connection has been revealed. The lustful heart is like fire, and I want to have sex. Fanta went to the back. Simon King went out of the room to change clothes and saw that the snow was getting heavier and heavier. Returning to the room, the maid was sent forward to take off her boots and belt, and first move her gums. The girls came back from the pink-headed bath, closed their doors, and entered the Mandarin duck tent together. Exactly how charming the spring beauty is, making Dai Fang's heart soft and lustful. There is a poem to prove it. Gathering and separation are in dreams, and the remaining candles reflect the red gauze. Since ancient times, love has been combined with many gods. Who knows that the road to the balcony is blocked? The two Yunyu had fun and got up at the first watch. After arranging her clothes and hair, the maid once again brewed the fine wine, prepared the delicacies, and drank a few more glasses. Asked Dan, "Do you have a lantern or umbrella?" Dan said, Jin Tong's family went to get the lantern and umbrella. Simon King had just said goodbye, and the Madam and Fanta Xiang saw him out and watched him mount his horse. Zheng Yue raised her voice and shouted, "Father, if you call me, come and tell me." Simon King said, "I know." As he got on his horse, he went out of the hospital under an umbrella and walked through the snow all the way to his home. To Wu Yunyang, she just said that drinking with Uncle Wu on Lion Street was no big deal. One night scene has been mentioned. The next day, which was the 8th day of the Lunar New Year, I heard that all the luggage of Hekian who had been moved to the Jia family's house. Simon King sent for boxes of tea and snacks and a 5-cent folded handkerchief as a congratulatory gift. I saw Earl Ying walking over suddenly. When Simon King saw that the snow was clear and the wind was very cold, he left him in front of the study in front of the fire, asked the boy to bring vegetables, and left him to eat porridge, because he said, "Yesterday, Kiao's family and brother Yun gave gifts and folded handkerchiefs. For your favor, I also paid 2 coins for you. You don't have to be with him. Just wait for the invitation to have a drink." Earl Ying raised his hand and thanked him, because he asked, "What did the 3 masters do yesterday? Who are those 2 people?" Simon King said, "Those 2, one is Lei Bingbai and the other is one counselor, both from Zhejiang province who want to serve wine at my place. Tomorrow I will invite Zhao Ting, the magistrate of Hangzhou, who will be newly promoted to the Dali Temple in the capital. He is the parent and official of his house. We can get along well with each other, but we are not allowed to return him. Tongshan only pays 32 cents. The Earl said, "Often civil servants are so meticulous. Why do you want to pay for 3 taels of silver? I can't afford to pay more." Simon King said, "This Lei Bingbai is the one who asked Huangxi's brother-in-law Wen Xiang. Yesterday he accused me of firing him." The Earl said, "You said he was not careful, but now he still remembers that he only served this banquet." While talking, the Earl called out, "Ying Bao, ask that person to come see your eldest father." Simon King asked, "Who is he?" The Earl said, "A young man. He is from an old family. His parents are gone, and he has lived in the royal family's house since he was a child. He already has a daughter-in-law, because he is not like other family members in Zhuangzi. He came out, now he is idle and can't do anything. He and Yingbao are friends, and Young and Yingbao want to join someone else's family. This morning Yingbao said to me, Dad would recommend me to agree with the eldest father in his house. I said, I wonder if your eldest father can use it. Yin asked Ying Bao, what's his name? Ask him to come in. Ying Bao said, his surname is Lai, so call him Yuer. I saw your friend lying on the ground, kodoing, and standing outside the curtain. The Earl said, if you look at his stature and strength, he can do it with only a light load. Because he asked, how old are you? Lai Yuer said, the younger one is 20 years old. Then he asked, your wife has no children? The man said, just 2 children. Ying Bao said, to tell you the truth from Dad, his wife is only 19 years old. She can cook, sew, and make clothes of all sizes. Simon King saw that the man had his head down and his feet up. And he was a simple man, so he said, since you are here to answer my second father's question, please agree with me with all your heart. Payment, choose a good date, write the paperwork, and the couple will move in. Then you're kotoed. Simon King asked Kintunger to lead him to the back. When he saw Yoon Young, everyone kotoed. Yoon Young came to live with Wenger in the same room where he originally lived. The count sat back and went home. Ying Bao wrote a surrender document with him and gave it to Simon King to collect. He changed his name to Lai Ju and it was no problem. But Mrs. Bai, fourth wife, ever since her parents married the Jia family, they have been doing shopping every day and only care about Pinganer, Lion and Hua Tunger. These high-ranking officials in Simon King's family often had dinner with Ping here in his room. If Mrs. Bai is in a good mood, she will bring you some food or tea if you want. It wouldn't be strange to see Ben C when he came back from the shop for a while and bump into him. So he's not at home today, so he won't do anything for him. Danner and Pinganer were sitting more in his room. On the 9th day of the lunar month, Simon Kang and Langzhong, Wang Counselor, and Labing were preparing to serve wine and invite Magistrate Zhao. No need to go into details. That day, Lai Ju and his wife moved in. Behind his wife, she saw Yoon Young and everyone kotoed. Yoon Young saw that he was wearing a purple silk jacket, a green cloth jacket, and a green cloth skirt. He had a short figure, melon seed dough, and was painted with grease and powder, and his feet were tied up. When asked, she knew how to do all kinds of needlework. He was named Hu Yuan, and he was put on the stove for 3 days with Hu Yu and Hu Xiang without mentioning anything. One day, Miss Young disappeared outside the door, and Tunger came to report the funeral. Simon King ranged a table, made soup and rice with 3 animals, and sealed the 5 Liang incense ceremony. Wu Yunyang, Li Zhaoer, Meng Yulu, and Pan Jinlian all went north to burn paper with him in their sedan chairs to pay their respects. Qin Tunger, Chess Tunger, Lai Juer, and Lai Anner were all with the sedan and were not at home. Simon King was in the study room of Dwayner across the street, watching the coat maker and Yunyang making sable collars. He first saved up a collar and asked Diane to send it to Zheng Yuer in the courtyard, sealing him 10 taels of silver to celebrate the festival. The Zheng family was in charge of the wine and food and gave him 3 coins. Dan came and returned to Simon to express his gratitude, saying, "Thank you so much for your kindness. I just missed my father the day before yesterday." I gave him 3 coins of silver, Simon King said. "Just take it." Because he asked him, "Ben C is not at home. What are you doing out of his house?" Diane said, "Miss Spicy married his girl. No one helped her. Chang Young and the younger ones bought it for him." "What?" Simon King said. "Since he has no one to help him, you can just work hard for him." Then he quietly said to Diane, "Tell him slowly. This is what it is. Dad wants to come and see you. How do you feel about it? Let's see what he says. If he agrees, ask him for a sweat towel." "Come with me," Diane said. "I understand, little one." After receiving Simon King's words, he agreed to go down. Simon King walked home. Wang Jing took the golden red tiger and 4 pairs of gold-headed silver hairpins from Gu Yinpu and handed them to Simon King. Simon King left 2 pairs in the study, while the rest went into Li Pinger's room, and gave Ryer's red tiger and another pair of hairpins. "Give the pair of hairpins to welcome the spring." The 2 accepted it and kotoed quickly. Simon King ordered Yingshin to go get some food. After a while, he took the food to eat, came out and sat down in the study again. Diane slowly walked up to him and saw Wang Jing beside him. Saying nothing, Simon King sent Wang Jing behind to get tea. "Na," Dan Feng said. Young men told him daddy's words, and he smiled. "Wait for him on the date night, and wait for daddy to come in. Ask him to bring this wet towel." Simon King saw a red silk scarf wrapped in red tissue paper. He smelled the fragrance and was filled with joy, so he quickly took off his sleeves. "I saw Wang Jing bring tea, eat it, and then walk through the opposite door to watch the craftsmen at work. Suddenly it was reported, 'Uncle Hua is here.' Simon King said, 'Please come over here and sit down.' Hua Ziao walked to the study room and sat down in the study room. "Thanks for the trouble." During the conversation, the painting boy took the tea and ate it. Hua Ziao said, "There is a customer outside the door. He has 500 bags of waxy rice, which is frozen in the river. He is waiting to sell it and go home. I am thinking about my brother-in-law, so I can buy it for the same price." Simon King said, "What do I want from him for nothing? No one wants it on the frozen river. When the river boat comes, the price drops even more. Now I don't have any money at home." Immediately, Fu Dian said, "Clear and put the table." The family said, "Come and see the vegetables." At the same time, he asked Hua Tunger to say, "Please come and sit with your father." After a while, the count arrived. The three of them were together, drinking wine around the fire. He also ordered 2 sticks of cakes to be baked and eaten. After a long time, he saw Ying Chen, Wu Daoguan's apprentice, coming to deliver the ceremonial gift and imperial edict. Simon King invited him to sit down and have a drink with him. He took Li Ping'er's 100 Days book and went with his money. After eating until sunset, Hua Ziao and Ying Chen got up first and went away. The next time, Mr. Gan closed the shop and invited him to sit down again. He played dice and talked with the count, but he didn't realize that he had already held the lamp. Wu Yunyang and others arrived in sedan chairs, and Lion walked over to answer the question. The Earl asked, "Where are the sisters-in-law going today?" Simon King said, "Miss Young is gone. I will recite sutras for 3 days today. I have prepared Zhang Jijuo and sealed Xiang Yi here to pay my respects." The Earl said, "He has lived a long life." Simon King said, "I dare to say 75 or 6. I don't have any men or women. I only rely on my nephew to support me. I have been preparing his materials for him for the past few years." The Earl said, "Okay, the old man has gold. Entering the closet is just a matter of time. Brother's big vagina." After that, after a few rounds of drinking, the Count resigned with Mr. Gan. Simon King stood up and came over, telling his descendant Wang Xian, "Light the candle carefully." Wang Xian Dao, "You know, I know." Watch the door close. Seeing no one there, Simon King walked into Ben Si's house in 2 days. Madame Huisi had been standing alone at the front of the door for a long time. When she saw the opposite door closing, Simon King walked up to her from the shadows. The woman quickly opened the sealed door, and Simon King got inside. The woman also closed the door and said, "Dad, please sit inside the paper door." It turns out that the inner room has a loft fan covering the back half of the room. And there is a small king inside the paper door, which holds a prosperous fire. There was a lamp on the table, and the king on both sides was covered in white. The woman was wearing an emerald blue gold hoop, a purple silk jacket, a green silk jacket, and a jade-colored silk skirt. She went forward and said blessings to Simon King, and quickly handed Simon King a cup of tea to eat. Said, "I'm afraid the sister-in-law next door knows." Simon King said, "It doesn't matter." He knew it in the dark shadow. So without any explanation, he took the woman into his arms and kissed her. He pulled the pillow over, took off his clothes and pressed them on the edge of the king, then lifted up his legs and shrugged. The penis was already tied with a brace, and as soon as it was inserted into the vagina, it was tugged a few times, and semen flowed from the woman's lower body, making a pair of blue pants wet. Simon King pulled out those words, took out the bun from Xiang Shun's bag with a trembling voice, dipped some on a glance, shoved it in, then restrained the vaginal fluid, and started jerking it wildly. The woman held Simon King's shoulders with both hands, and they were leaning against each other. She trembled and moaned incessantly. This Simon King took advantage of the drunkenness, put his legs on his arms, and drove forward sharply without exposing his head. After a while, the woman's bun was fluffy, her tongue was cold, and she could not speak. Simon King was out of breath. His spirit turtle was so beautiful, and he was ejaculating like a gush. After a long time, the words were pulled out, and the vaginal fluid came out, so he used a handkerchief to apply it. Tie up the 2 clothes and redo the remaining makeup. Simon King took out 5 or 6 tails of broken silver and 2 pairs of gold-headed hairpins from his sleeve, and handed them to the woman to buy flowers and green belts during the festival. The woman thanked her and sent it away quietly. Diane was in the shop over there, listening intently to the knocker on the door here. Then he opened the door and let Simon King in, knowing that no one knows about it. The next time I came and went, I also entered Hong Kong once or twice. Exactly, if you want others to not know, you have to do nothing unless you do it yourself. Not wanting to be looked down upon by sister-in-law Han, Jin Lian found out later. This golden lotus didn't tell him off either. One day, the 15th day of the 12th lunar month, Mr. Kiao's family invited him to have a drink. Simon King stood up together with Count Ying and Uncle Wu. That day, many relatives and friends watched the theater and drank, and they dispersed at the second watch. On the second day, each family had a juomian. No need to go into details. Shan Biao Chui Ben managed 2,000 taels of silk and silk goods from Huzhou. He got up in the first 10 days of the 12th lunar month, hired a ship to load the goods, and rushed to Ma-Tu, Linqing. The disciple Sheng Ronghai took care of the goods, so he hired Tuku to come to his house, took out the carts of sharp silver, and went to the front door to look down at Tuku. Qin Tong said, "Brother Chui is here, please sit down in the hall. Dad is in the house opposite, waiting for me to invite you." When he walked to the opposite door, he didn't see Simon King, so he asked Ping En'er, and Ping En'er said, "Dad, you dare to go in the back." The piano boy went to the upper room and asked Yunyang. Yunyang said, "Damn it, your father left Qianchen. When will he come in again?" He went to every room, the garden and the study, and found nothing. Qin Tong raised his voice at the front door and said, "Don't worry about killing me. I don't know where Dad has gone. I can't find him in vain." Dad came and disappeared in broad daylight. Brother Chui came this day and just taught him to sit. Nadan knew clearly and just kept silent. Unexpectedly, Simon King suddenly came in from the front and startled everyone. It turns out that Simon King entered Hong Kong in Ben Suwu and then came out. Then Ping En sent Simon King in, and when he saw Qin Tunger sticking out his tongue, he sweated a lot for him and said, "Brother Chui is here to control the situation. I'll give him a few beatings." Unexpectedly, Simon King walked to the hall and Chui Ben saw him. After kowtowing, he handed over his book account and said, "The boat arrived at Ma-Tu, less money for the carriage tax and silver. I got up on the first day of the 12th lunar month and parted ways with him in Yangzhou. Whenever he went to Hangzhou, I stayed at Mao King's house for 2 days. Because he said, Mao King paid 10 taels of silver for his father to carry a girl from 1,000 family in Yangzhou Wei. She was 16 years old, and her name was Chu Yan. She was as beautiful as a face, as beautiful as a jade, and as bright as a star. The eyes, the moon is like eyebrows, the waist is like willow, the socks are like hooks, and the 2 feet are just 3 inches tall. The head has the appearance of a fish sinking and a wild goose, a leopard shy of flowers when the moon is closed. There are 3,000 small songs and 800 big songs in the belly. Mao King he is still living at home, making dowry and clothes for him. When the spring comes, the Han clerk and the security officer will bring him on the boat to wait on his father and relieve his sorrow. After Simon King heard this, he was filled with joy and said, "It's okay if you come a little later on the boat. Why don't you bother him with clothes, makeup and acupuncture? Are you worried that I don't have any at home?" So he couldn't wait to spread his wings, fly up to Yangzhou, and move to Yangzhou. Beautiful and pleasing to the eye. It's just that it's hard to tell when a deer separates from Zheng, and when a butterfly turns into Zhuangzhou, it's impossible. There is a poem to prove it. I heard a chew cloud in Yangzhou, and I occasionally heard the truth based on the bluebird's words. I don't know that all good things are separated. Try asking the owner of the plum blossom. Simon King had dinner with Shui Ben, exchanged 50 taels of silver for card tax, and wrote a book about the money to make him unhappy. After Shui Ben finished speaking, he made a speech and went to Kiao Dahu's house to reply. When Ping An saw that Simon King was not looking for Kintunger, he said, "My son, you don't know how much good fortune you have. I don't know what my father likes today. If not, I would tie up the ghost and beat him a few times." Kintong smiled and said, "You are the only one who knows my father's nature." After picking up the goods and unloading them at Lion Street, it was late in the afternoon. Simon King was at home sending out festive gifts when he suddenly saw someone from the Jingdu supervisory office bringing a post and asking, "Song Daxon has been in Beijing for several days, but has the unknown decree come down yet? It would be best if old man Fu Wei sent someone to the procuratorate to find out." Simon King immediately agreed to the provincial level, took 5 coins, and went to the patrol office to inquire. Sure enough, the newspaper came down from the Tokyo residence yesterday, and a piece of paper was copied, and the whole newspaper came to watch with Simon King. It reads, "A copy of Song Qianian, the censor of Shandong province, impeaching local civil and military officials according to examples to encourage people's hearts and to promote saints and govern affairs. The thieves are the officials to appease the people, and the force is to ward off chaos. So they are the ones who protect the place and order the people's orders. If he is not the person he is, he will be mishandled and the people will be harmed. So what will happen to the country?" I was ordered to visit Shandong and other places. The officials and people were in trouble, and the supervisors were on guard. They all paid close attention to consultations and visits. He was ordered to appease the ministers and make detailed identifications to find out whether each official was worthy or not. Now that the deadline is over, I dare not tell you one by one. After visiting Shandong Zuobuzhang, Chen Saijin, he was loyal and caring for the people. Zhao Na, the honest envoy, kept the rules and disciplines clean, and the people obeyed him. Lei Qiyuan, the deputy military envoy. The soldiers and the people admired his kindness and power, and his staff all praised him for his skill. Jinan Zhongshui, the prefecture prefect, has a considerable financial background and is worthy of being a pastor. Master Hu, the prefecture prefect of Dongping Prefecture, is cautious in his position and treats the people as if they were injured. These ministers should all be recommended, rewarded and promoted. I also visited Feng Tinghu, the Zuo counselor, who looked like a puppet with a stooped figure and in the view of mulberry trees. He was greedy. Words spread throughout the room. These 2 ministers should be criticized urgently. After another visit, he found Zhou Xiu, the garrison of Zuo Genuine, who was magnificent in equipment, experienced in management, convinced of the military spirit, and the thieves disappeared. Jing Zhang, the superintendent of soldiers and horses in Jeju, was young and strong, and he was highly skilled in talent. He was known as the first in martial arts. A Confucian general has a good chance of winning the battle. He is extremely strict in his orders, and he has long-term strategy and can resist insults. These 2 ministers should be promoted urgently. There are thousands of Wukai households in Qing County. With their highly trained talents, they have learned the method of defense. They can drive troops to use the backbone of the army. And they can't attack. They store food to provide food and pay. And no one is full. Sincerely, people want to serve their lives. The protection of one party is the shield of the country. It is advisable to increase promotion and encourage ministers. Your Majesty, if your ministers' words are acceptable and implemented, if the common people do not have excessive official titles, people will think of them, and if they are shepherds and attract people, then the holy rule depends on it. etc. Cause, Fang Yin-yi, the ministry knows. Continuing the previous matter mentioned by the Ministry of Civil Affairs and Military Affairs, it can be seen from the report of Song Qianian, the imperial censor, that the impeachment and promotion of local civil and military officials is nothing more than loyalty to the country. Out of public opinion, an inquiry into the facts in order to facilitate the governance of the emperor. If you pray for blessings from the saints and carry them out, the world will be blessed and the people will be blessed. Fang Qinyi planned to do it. When Simon King saw him, he was filled with joy. Taking the newspaper, he walked to the back and said to Yunyang, Taoist Master Song is here. He has recommended your brother to be promoted to the commanding officer and to be appointed as the governor of the village. Both Zhou Shu and Master Jing will be rewarded and will be promoted to deputy staff and commander. Ren, now quickly send the boy to invite him and say something to him. Yunyang said, you send someone to go and I'll let the maid take care of the food and wine. I'm worried that he will also need money when he takes office. Simon King said, it doesn't matter. I'll just lend him a few taels of silver. After a while, Uncle Wu arrived. Simon King sent the imperial edict to him to see. Uncle Wu quickly thanked Simon King and Yunyang and said, my brother-in-law and sister have supported me so much. I should repay my kindness and I dare not forget it. Simon King said, Uncle, if you don't have any money to serve wine when you take office, I will exchange some money here for envoys. The uncle bowed and thanked him again. So they arranged for wine to be served in Yunyang's room. Yunyang is also sitting next to her. Simon King ordered Chen Jingji to copy the whole book and hold it with his uncle. That is to say, he sent Dian to take a post and send it to his residence to report the good news to Jingdu prison and Zhou Shouyu. Exactly, I advise you not to waste time engraving and grinding stones, as pedestrians' mouths on the road are like monuments.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.